Um, Good afternoon. Thank you to everyone that's joined us for our first Meet the Programme Director session, specifically for our MSc in Finance and Machine Learning. Thank you again for joining us this afternoon. My name is Tahira. I work in the marketing team at the School of Economics and Finance. I'm here to facilitate the session and relay all your questions back to our academic Daniele here and also our student ambassador Simran. This session will be informing you and educating you about our new course starting in September, the MSc in Finance and Machine Learning. So what's going to happen in this session is that I'm going to pass it over to Simran to do a short intro just to introduce herself, and then Daniele, our academic here, our program director for the course, so we'll be leading the presentation and telling you guys about the course. And then after the presentation is over, we're going to have maybe 10-15 minutes or so for our short Q&A, where you can ask absolutely any questions you want about the course to Daniele and also our current postgraduate student ambassador Simran here. Anything at all whatsoever, nothing too big or too small. Life at Queen Mary, studying at Queen Mary, studying the course, studying at the School of Economics and Finance, any questions you want to Simran and Daniele here. I'm going to pass it over to Simran now to introduce herself, name, the year you're in and what you're studying, and then over to Daniele. Thank you, Simran.
Hello, good afternoon, everybody. I am Simran Mehra. I am from India originally. I am studying MSc Investment and Finance here. I'm currently in my second semester, like towards the end of the second semester. I have exams coming up. I hope you have a good time. Thank you.
Fantastic, thank you, Simran. Just to let you guys know, obviously the Finance and Machine Learning course is new, starting in September, so we don't have current students on the course, so that's why Simran's here to answer any of your queries about Queen Mary and studying at the School of Economics and Finance. So thank you, Simran, and then I'm going to pass it over to Daniele now to introduce herself and then lead the presentation. So good luck.
All right, thanks everyone for joining this afternoon. I'm Daniele. I'm the program director of this new coming MC in Finance and Machine Learning. And what I'm gonna do today, I'm gonna walk you through, first of all, I'm gonna give you a little bit of a big picture of the School of Economics and Finance at Queen Mary. And then I'm gonna delve deeper into the actual MC. Here's me. I'm a senior lecturer at Queen Mary since 3 years. Before then, I was at the Warwick Business School. And I'm the program director of this master because that's part of my research agenda. My research area is machine learning, financial econometrics, and I would say modern empirical asset pricing. And my research has been presented in some of the top conferences and published in some of the top journals in the field. So as I said, I'm going to divide the presentation essentially in 2 blocks. In the first one, I want to give you a little bit of an idea on, why you should come at CEF in the first place, what life at CEF, academic life at CEF looks like. And then in the second block of the presentation, I'm going to give you a more specific idea on the course on itself. And then we have Q&A at the end, obviously. So what is CEF? So CEF is the acronym for the School of Economics and Finance at Queen Mary University of London, and the school is what we could call a center of excellence, obviously in both research and teaching. Is one of the Russell Group University, Queen Mary, which means that is one of the most research-intensive universities in the UK. The Russell Group consists of, if I recall correctly, the top 20 or top 40 most research-intensive universities. So it's a center of excellence, both in research and teaching, and most of the teaching is actually research-led. So the way we develop teaching is essentially borrowing ideas from cutting-edge research. Now, when it comes to the academic environment, I'm sure Simran are going to give you much more insights than I could, because I'm a part of a faculty. I'm not a student, but from the faculty side, I can assure you there is a very friendly and supportive atmosphere. just to give you an idea, the main study rooms are in the same building of the faculty, which means that effectively you have access to the faculty throughout the year. Right, so I mentioned that is one of the Russell Group universities. Obviously, with that comes lots of investments in terms of facilities. So you're going to take classes, and essentially all of your academic development is within the Queen Mary new building. So this is the new building, if you see the picture here, and this is some of the snapshot within the building. And it's a brand new building. It's been built a few years ago, actually, I think a couple of years before I came. And it's very modern, obviously, as you could expect. There's been a very large investment by Queen Mary University, and that just, just to give you an idea how much we want to be competitive in this space, right? Obviously, the building, so the graduate center includes lecture halls, include spaces for both group and independent study, and actually includes several trading labs. I'm going to give you a couple of details later on. So trading labs and research labs, and obviously you have academic offices. All of the faculty is located in the fourth and the fifth floor of the building. All of the admin is located, most of the admin is located on the third floor, and you have even a cafe at the ground floor. So it's a brand new space which has been constructed, precisely with the idea of taking the next step when it comes to both research and teaching. Now, in terms of facilities, so it's not just the building on itself, but obviously, if you want to lead from a research perspective and a teaching perspective, you have to provide teaching and research facilities, and that's what actually the SEF does. So as a student, you're going to have access, obviously, to the most known, so to speak, media, access to The Economist, Financial Times, Wall Street journals, but also more specific information providers such as Reuters and Bloomberg. And obviously with Reuters and Bloomberg, if you never came across to Reuters and Bloomberg, they provide news, obviously, they provide all of the information that pertains to financial markets, but they also provide data, obviously. I'm going to talk about the data in the next slide. But this is just to say that you're going to have access both to information providers, so cutting edge information providers, as well as more, let's say, finance related or finance specifics information providers such as Reuters and Bloomberg. I mentioned before that we have several labs. So we have, for instance, a trading and behavioral lab, which contains, in fact, the Bloomberg trading terminals. We also have access to FX trading stations, or widely known, in fact, globally used trading facilities such as the Interactive Brokers Trading Workstation, which is obviously used by professionals. So this is just to give you a sense of all of the facilities that you can access, enrolling in this master, being part of the School of Economics and Finance. So it's not just media in itself. So it's not that you just get the subscription at The Economist, so to speak, or the access to Bloomberg and data stream, but you also have access to a variety of programs and databases. Some of them are actually very specific. For instance, one is the WRDS, which is the acronym of the Water Research Data Services. With WRDS come a variety of different data that pertain different countries, different markets. It's a very extensive data set. It's a very extensive data provider. And then on top of that, you have access not just to data through WRDS, Bloomberg, and Reuters, but you also have access to programs because I'm going to give you some more specific later on. But most of the, a good part of the Master in Machine Learning and Finance, obviously, as the name says, is actually programming. So you have access to more, let's say, low-level programs, such as Stata you use, let's say middle-level programs such as MATLAB and Mathematica or Maple, but also you're going to get access to programs such as programming languages such as Python and R, which indeed they are open source, so you get access to them regardless. So in a nutshell, you're going to get resources, I would say, cutting edge resources, both from the information, so everything that pertains media, but also programming languages and actual hard data. Now, this is essentially what comes within your area of study, meaning that everything that is in the class, so data, information, building, study facilities, but as part of the strategic development of Quimeri also relates to outside classroom activities. For instance, we have Quimeri University of London Investment Fund, which is entirely led by MC students and manage up to 40,000 pounds of investments. And then we have also other societies, the Banking and Finance Society, the FinTech Quimeri University of London Society, and so on and so forth. So there is a variety of, let's say, outside classroom activities, which still are related to finance and investments, which could be, I think, very interesting to apply, for instance, in a real world framework, some of the things that you actually study in class. So this was just to give you an idea of what Quimeri is about. So is a leading research and teaching university in the UK. It's part of the Russell Group. Most of the faculty is research oriented. Everything, essentially all of the teaching is research led. We have this new cutting edge building, which cost almost 40 million pounds. And then we have lots of data and information available to students. But then, that's Quimeri, that's the School of Economics and Finance. You're going to get access to all of this because you enroll in the master. But then the next question is, why should I take this master in the first place? So this is what I'm going to try to tell you in the next few slides. So why study the MC Finance and Machine Learning Master? Some logistic before try to convince you that this is a good choice. So it's a standard MC, so full-time 1 year. You're going to get a Master of Science at the end. The entry requirements are 2-1 or above at the undergraduate level in any subject, provided that there is obviously a quantitative background in stats and maths. That does not necessarily mean that you have to have an undergraduate in statistics or mathematics, but at least you should have taken some classes on statistics and basic mathematics. The campus is the Milan campus, so all of the fancy new building that I showed you before and then I outlined before is your main point of reference. So everything is going to be there essentially. And the applications, as you know, are open, and the first cohort is going to start September 2022. So why machine learning, and why we decide to investing such a huge amount of resources in this master? Well, it goes without saying, and I guess this is part of the reason why you guys are attending and you guys are here. Part of the reason is because machine learning applications are essentially everywhere nowadays. It's not just finance, but machine learning actually pertains, more, let's say, social sciences, such as political science. So when it comes to understand, for instance, the behavior of voters, or pure IT applications, such as, for instance, recommendation engines, the advertisements, algorithms, the facial recognitions if you use social media or you take pictures, and so on and so forth. And obviously other applications that go from surveillance to policing and the likes. So machine learning has become, even if some of you may not realize, but has become a big chunk of our lives, our daily life. So the idea here is try to give you a first preparation on what machine learning actually means in the first place. Obviously, is a master in machine learning and finance, in which essentially means that there is a huge finance component. And part of the reason is because machine learning obviously is everywhere in our daily life, but is becoming particularly predominant in financial markets. What I'm highlighting here in this slide is the growth rate of spending on alternative data for the financial industry. So you see on the y-axis, you see the amount of spending in billions of US dollars. For each of the bars, you see different colors, and different colors correspond to different type of spending. For instance, data sources, data management, system development, IT infrastructure, and the likes. You see that from 2017 to 2020, the data hasn't been updated yet. You have an annual growth rate of spending on alternative data, which is in the order of 20% per year. This gives you a sense on how much the finance industry is spending on everything that relates machine learning to some extent. And obviously, as a consequence to that, you're going to have more jobs. So what I'm reporting here is a graph that shows you the growth rate of the number of alternative data analysts, and that's the dark blue bars, and the number of investment funds that are employing alternative data analysts. That's the light blue bar. You see that there is an exponential increase, not only in the number of people that actually take this type of masters, the number of people that actually take these specialties, but also in the number of funds that actually hire these people. So if you couple the figure that I showed you before, so a significant growth rate in the amount of investments that has been taken by the finance industry, and you couple that growth rate with the number of funds that are actually employing alternative data analysts or data analysts more generally, you can immediately realize what is the added value of a master like this. Essentially, you're going to have better prospects as as time goes on, because these things are becoming more and more relevant. So the idea here is essentially, the idea of this master is to give you some sort of specialties when it comes to the use of complex statistical learning methodologies, not only for analyzing data, but ultimately how to put those analyses in practice. So how to use, to some extent, statistical learning for investment decisions, risk management, as well as the development of, let's say, engineering models when it comes to the analysis of large data sets. So we want to give you a specialized background in this topic. So at the end, you're going to get a combined training in what I would call mainstream finance, so mainstream financial markets, things such as asset pricing, corporate finance, and the likes. But also you're going to couple that background with advanced machine learning methods. So you're going to have a course that gives you, first of all, an introduction on machine learning methodologies, which is a bit more quantitative, and then you're going to get machine learning for finance, big data applications for finance and economics, and so on and so forth. All of the core courses are delivered by the faculty of the School of Economics and Finance, myself included. And you're going to get also additional elective modules. Some of them are offered by some of the industry experts that collaborate with us on a regular basis. A couple of other electives are delivered by the School of Mathematical Science because they are more, let's say, technical for those of you who really want to dig deeper into the mathematics of finance, machine learning. So the idea really is, I guess you realize that what we really want to do is to build upon mainstream financial markets courses, advanced topics in machine learning. So you're going to get essentially the best of both worlds. So what you will learn at the end, as I just highlighted in the previous slide, you're going to understand and learn basic concepts of statistical learning. You're going to learn how to couple those mathematical concepts with economic theory. So you're going to not just applying, for instance, penalized regressions or random forests and neural nets, but you're going to learn how to interpret those outputs through the lens of, for instance, an investment decision-making process. So you're gonna explore all of the key practicalities and issues, and you're gonna learn how to implement machine learning algorithms for investment decision making, right? So that at the end, by the end of this course, you're gonna be able to independently develop your own models, independently conduct your critical studies, and build upon state-of-the-art statistical learning methods so you can move the frontier a bit forward. So I alluded to the structure of the course before. So essentially, you're going to have semester one, you're going to have core modules, which are entirely delivered by the faculty at CEF. And core modules include asset pricing, financial econometrics, big data, machine learning, and machine learning for finance. So in the semester one, you're going to get essentially some background of mainstream finance, asset pricing, something that is in between mainstream finance and machine learning, which is effectively financial econometrics, and more specialized topics in big data and machine learning. Then in semester two, you're going to have core modules, which still relates obviously to big data and machine learning, plus elective modules that cover a wide range of topics. Literally, you can choose anything that goes from real estate markets to derivatives to financial mathematics, right? And then in the third semester, you're going to get a dissertation that needs to be delivered, which is a good opportunity to put into practice the things that you studied in semester one and two. And roughly the composition of the final assessment is 75% the modules that you take, 25% the dissertation that you do at the end. So in terms of skills and knowledge, this is sort of a repetition of what I said before. The idea is to make you an expert in developing complex statistical learning algorithms for the analysis of financial markets, right? So we want to train people that can go out there and essentially pushing a bit the frontier when it comes to modern investment decision making, when it comes to understanding risks, managing risks, when it comes to forecasting trends, understanding how to build investment portfolios and how to constantly monitor their performances. All of these skills will be, let's say, introduced through the lens of machine learning methodologies, giving you also some background in mainstream finance. Now, possible career paths are sort of obvious here. Obviously, we want to train financial professionals, so finance professional, but not only that, we want to actually create data scientists that can talk to, both engineers and people with simple business education. So essentially sort of a hybrid figure that can pursue careers in finance, but also in data science or academia, why not, if you want to proceed and doing a PhD later on. So in the presentation, we also laid out a few common questions that people might have, and I'm going to briefly revise some of those. But obviously, you are more than welcome to ask questions at the end of the presentation. So a typical question that we receive is, can I actually attend this master? Is this master for me? So the master is designed for essentially two types of audiences, which are not necessarily mutually exclusive. So obviously graduate students who wants to pursue studies in quantitative finance, because there is obviously a quantitative component in the program. And when I say pursue a career in quantitative finance, by that we mean essentially risk analytics and investment management, or is also designed for professionals that are currently employed in financial services industry, but essentially they want to expand their knowledge in, let's say, more modern tools when it comes to take investment decisions and managing risks. So is essentially target for graduate students who wants to take a quantitative master with cutting edge methodologies that can be eventually used for pursuing jobs in quantitative finance, or for professionals that already work in the finance industry, but they want to have better career prospects afterwards. So I mentioned before a bit the background. So I mentioned before 2-1 undergraduate in any discipline as far as there is some quantitative background, so some stats and maths. Obviously, what we appeal here is students from both an economics and quantitative background. Essentially, in any undergraduate in economics now, you have at least a course in mathematics or statistics. And obviously, if you take an undergraduate in a quantitative subject, such as statistics, maths, physics, and the likes, is always taken as a given that you took that type of classes. Independently on your background, obviously the first semester is more, let's say, focused on giving you the building blocks. So asset pricing, financial econometrics, introduction to machine learning for finance, essentially giving you the building blocks. But depending on your interest in the second semester of electives, depending on your background, if you feel that you have maybe some lag, you lack some preparation in economics, for instance, you can take electives that make up that gap, or the opposite. If you believe that there is some gap that you have in your curriculum on quantitative topics, then you're free to take some of the elective courses that are provided by the mathematics department. And if you put those things together, then at the end, you're going to do a dissertation at the end using all of the data sets that I mentioned before. And all of those data are actually very suitable for big data applications. So one thing that I want to highlight is about computer programming. Do you need to know computer programming? Well, the answer is at the end of the master, obviously, yes. At the beginning, not necessarily, meaning that we're going to teach you how to program. Most of the courses that you're going to take, they have a substantial programming component. Could be either Python, could be R, could be MATLAB, depending on the course. But yes, you're going to learn how to program at the end of the master. But since we are essentially starting almost from the beginning, we're starting almost from the very basics of programming, you don't necessarily have to know how to program before joining the master. You're going to learn how to program throughout the master. So in fact, learning how to program or teaching you how to program is one of the main objectives of this master at the end, if anything, because programming is like the core of machine learning, right? You can't learn machine learning if you don't program. You have to program to actually learn how to implement machine learning methodologies. So I think it's time for Q&A, and obviously if you want to have more information, here's the link, and feel free to reach out our amazing student recruitment office, which will be more than happy to answer all the questions that you might have. Thanks.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Daniele. That was a brilliant presentation. I'll get on to the first question. So we do, so someone asks, I want to study data analytics regarding finance and to find a career about quantitative trading or data analytics. Does this program suit my goal? What's your?
Yes, I mean, that is essentially the idea of this program. So try to prepare professionals with a, let's say, much above average training in data analytics and to apply for quantitative finance jobs. So long story short, yes, the program actually suits your goal.
Thank you. Okay, so another question in the chat. Hi, I would like to know if I could apply for this course with my major being in applied economics.
Yes, I mean, I don't see any issue with the major in applied econ. I presume that you took classes in econometrics, being applied economics, part of it. I mean, as I said in the presentation, any background in economics is welcome. And then I just want to highlight again the fact that in the first semester you're going to take also introductory courses. For instance, there is an introduction module to machine learning. So even if you have never been exposed to machine learning in your life, you are going to learn how to, you're going to learn how to do machine learning throughout the course, throughout the master. So yes, even if you have an applied econ background, is actually good for apply to the course.
Thank you. Another question in the chat. So I'm not sure if you've read this already, Daniele, but I'll read it out just so everyone knows. As someone from a computer science background with a keen interest in machine learning, I'm keen to know your take on electing to do a research project as opposed to a 45 credit dissertation. Is this something you recommend to students? If you want to read it again, it's in the chat.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yes, I mean, this is a very good question. And I don't think the two things are exclusive in the sense that they're not mutually exclusive. You can take a 45 credit dissertation and do a research dissertation, right? So it's definitely something that I recommend to students. The way I personally supervise dissertations is a piece of research, really, novel research. So I try to push students to do something new. And I'm not just myself. I know that some of my colleagues do that as well. So definitely is possible to do a research project, but I wouldn't say a research project instead of a dissertation, but a dissertation as a research project, which are essentially the same thing. So yeah, I definitely recommend to do a research project to students, but this is essentially going to be your dissertation, not instead of the dissertation.
We've had a couple of questions in our kind of shared inbox, people that that can't make it today. Maybe Simran, I think you can help answer this. But in terms of splitting your time with studying and being a full-time postgraduate student as well, contact hours, what's the contact hours like on a full-time postgraduate course?
4 modules in the first semester, just like this course has. So every module has one lecture, which is like face-to-face and online. It's blended. Depends on the course leader as well. And then every module has a consecutive, like every week we also go through tutorials for every of the module. So that's like 4 hours for the lectures, 4 lectures, and 4 hours for 4 tutorials. That's all. But some lectures in the second semester, they are for 2 hours. Like I did not have any of those, but some other courses do have. So this course may have some for 2 hours as well.
Okay, so another question we have, and this is directed to Simran, in how you found your experience so far at Queen Mary and how it's like being a student at CEF, and what kind of support you've been given with regards to if it's student support, maybe career support you can talk about, academic support, but how you found being a student at the School of Economics and Finance.
It was great. Like I had a lovely time here. I mean, I enjoyed the first semester as much as the second one. I had my big data module where the module leader was like Professor Daniele. He's very good. I really enjoyed the course. The module was amazing. I have an exam tomorrow. Big data is it? I'm really excited. It was really nice. I'm sure the exam goes well as well. I would say investment and finance as a course was really good. It was a perfect blend between economics and statistics with machine learning as well. And we had a wide variety of courses that we could choose in the second semester. We have dissertation coming up, and the support is really great there as well. We have a TA and we have the dissertation guide. I'm sure it's going to be smooth. Careers has also been very helpful here. I have gone through appointments and like I have got my cover letter checked through them, my CV. They're really helpful. They give you a lot of resources where you can apply, and then they arrange for webinars which are very interesting, very interactive sessions. They're really helpful.
Great, thank you, Simran. Okay, so I'm going to ask Daniele this question and put you on the spot, but maybe you can tell our prospective students on why they should choose Queen Mary and what makes maybe the School of Economics and Finance quite special, in your opinion.
Well, I think one of the main advantages of Queen Mary vis-a-vis other certainly business schools is the diversity of the faculty interests when it comes to research and the background that they have. So effectively, the School of Economics and Finance is a department of economics with a finance group in it. And we have 5 groups. So we have macro theory, finance, econometrics, and applied econ. And that actually creates a very, very vibrant environment when it comes to research. And teaching is a spillover of research at the end. It's a research-led teaching what we do. Before Queen Mary wasn't a business school, it was a water business school. And in a business school, the environment is more narrow, is more like narrowed down around few topics. So I think one of the main advantages of the School of Economics and Finance is the diversity of the background of faculty members. So you can get exposed if you want to, either through electives or core modules, you can get exposed to a variety of different things. And I think that's definitely, at least for a modern economist or a modern financial professional, that's definitely a value added. I mean, obviously, you have other schools in London. London is a very competitive place when it comes to research. But I think we have as the value proposition of Queen Mary in that sense is a winning one.
Thank you. Another common question we get, I know you've already touched on this in the presentation, but maybe the typical job roles or career kind of pathways students could get from studying the course. Obviously it's a new course, but is there, as a typical career pathway that students would go on to doing a course like this?
Yeah, that's obviously it's a very good question. I mean, as you said, it's a new course, so I mean we have to develop a record in that sense. But at a very general level, this type of masters, the goal is to prepare professionals that can get jobs in quantitative finance. Could be either trading or risk analytics, but at the end of the day, that's the idea. With the let's say the additional option of pursuing a career in data science. And for instance, London is one of the major fintech hubs on the planet, which means that you might actually apply for jobs or get jobs outside the typical channels, big banks, hedge funds, mutual funds, and the likes. Personally, I collaborate with a couple of let's say fintech startups, and it's a very good job. I mean, these are very interesting jobs, and the professionals that we want to train, certainly they have the skills to apply to those jobs.
Thank you. And a question maybe for Simran you could answer. How easy is it to find part-time work?
It's not that difficult. It isn't. It's easy. It's not that difficult. I think there are a lot of sources available. Like you can get in touch with your peers, maybe somebody who's got into something. It's very easy. Like all my friends do part-time, most of them.
Yeah, there's a lot of opportunity on campus. I mean, with the Students' Union and everything, and also Simran, you're a student ambassador, so you're getting paid for doing work for us as well. So yeah, it is fairly easy to get a part-time job if you look in the right places. But yeah, thank you for joining us once again. And thank you so much, Daniele, for doing the presentation and leading on it. And Simran, thank you for participating. And also Rebecca, our marketing manager, who's been answering all the questions in the chat. So thank you, guys. And I hope you have a lovely day. And yeah, you have our email address if you do have any last minute questions. So thank you again, guys.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.